let us know in advance so that we can stop the broadcast. Secondly, now we are live on YouTube. And with this, I welcome you all to this 1017th meeting. Yes, that's right. It's not 1018. I made another mistake. It's 1017th meeting of Karachi Toastmasters Club. But this is not just an ordinary meeting. It's a collaborative event with Toastmasters Leadership Institute of District 122. And we're taking this opportunity to share our learnings about judging two different contests. The first one is humorous speech contest, and the second one is evaluation contest. This way, so today's meeting will have will be quite different from usual Toastmasters meeting. But one thing that it will share with other meetings is that it will also have a speech from the team strategy. And it is a very interesting project in its own right, because in that project, Deacon Sarfraz will be sharing his plan or vision for something, and we are supposed to present disruptions to that plan. So we will not be disrupting the speech, thankfully. What we'll be doing is we will be disrupting, we'll be finding ways the plan will not work, and Deacon Sarfraz will be answering mitigations to those disruptions. And after that, that speech will be evaluated in an advanced manner where there will be an immediate evaluation, and then there will be 4 round-robin evaluations. So all the potential judges and contestants will get a live flavor of how a speech is supposed to be evaluated. So with that said, our Toastmaster of the day is not here. So what I'll do is, we have a very special guest today, and you all know him. He is our program quality director, and he is one of our most senior Toastmasters. He has been Toastmaster for a number of years, and his presence can be felt in the entire Toastmasters community of Pakistan and beyond. He is the one who actually came up with the idea of starting Toastmasters Leadership Institutes. And everyone, please put your hands together for our Program Quality Director, DTM Atif Irfan. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much, DTM Talha. Thank you so much. And in the beginning, I was thinking that somebody else is going to be introduced. But later on, I started to realize that, yes, probably you are talking about me. So it's all because of the great advices, great support from all the Toastmaster fraternity in District 122. Otherwise, a single person, of course, is of no good for any great achievement. So thank you very much for all your support and support from all the Toastmasters here in Pakistan as well as around the globe. So far as this event is concerned, yes, I would say that this is need of the hour, because we are heading towards becoming a full-fledged district, and we need to produce the speakers who are best of the best, and we want to make our name rise high in the world. And for that, we need to be very strong in judging, very strong in contesting. And once we get to the right track, that will definitely lead us to the great place where we want to be. And TLI definitely has this objective besides many other things. And I am sure that we are heading towards the right direction under your kind leadership. What today I was really interested that when I got your message and I saw the agenda, I was really impressed that finally we are going to do that. And this is a very good idea, a great idea, and it's such an innovative thing that I was thinking about it for a long time, but I didn't know how to do it in such a great way. So you found that great way. Hats off to you for that, and the people who are here participating in this event and contesting and an overall program. I'm sure it's going to be adding a great value. So all the best to you for this great event, and without further ado, I will hand over the charge back to you, DTM Talha. Thank you so much.
Thank you, DTM Akhtar, for those kind words. And before moving further, once again, as the presiding officer, I would like to welcome each and every one of you, including members and guests. Although today the line is blurred because it's both a district event and a KTC meeting, so it's a kind of a collaboration. But there are no guest introductions as well. So we can quickly move on to the agenda. And that also means that now we get to hand the charge over to our Toastmaster of the day, Toastmaster Latif Masood Ali. So, Toastmaster Latif, where is Latif?
Thank you, distinguished Toastmaster Talal bin Hamid.
Latif, we can't hear you. You're not audible. Wait.
He's audible too.
Distinguished Toastmaster Talal bin Hamid, is it okay? I'm
Yes,
audible?
you can start now. Actually, the audio setup, so apologies for that.
Today meeting of academic session is nothing less than all about academy. We are here to get you a training which I saw on the flyer, the Toastmaster Leadership Institute, which is a good thing, which I feel that as our PQD also said, it's a need of an hour. Everybody should be aware of how the contests are being held, how the judging systems are. So in one way, it is very good, but the other, when I see the audience, I feel district participation is little less. Maybe we could have invited a few more of the guests from different clubs. Normally, the academy session have Normally in academy session, we have altogether 3 sessions. One is our keynote speaker. Then we have our prepared speech session where we have a speaker with advanced evaluation, and last, the role holders and the evaluation, the general evaluator who takes care of the proceedings. I myself won't be alone. There will be a team which can help me out. So let me invite timer first. Today's timer is Toastmaster Muhammad Azhar Khan to please explain his role.
Am I audible?
Yes.
Today, my job is timer. I will notice down all speakers' timing. Minimum time, I will show the green background. And then I will show the yellow color, and then last I will show the red color. And end of the video, I submit my report to TMOD. Back to you, Toastmaster.
Thank you, Toastmaster Muhammad Azhar Khan, for very crisp explanation. Judges training is as important as the contestant who trains themselves to come and deliver the speech. Judges are the one who are the barriers or the backbone of judging the perfect match who can represent the club towards the area, then division, and then to the district. And again, as we said, most likely we will be a district which can be participating furthermore beyond semi-finals and finals. So that time has to be given, and judges has to be in strong position for that. If I say a name in Karachi Toastmasters Club, or if I just spread a name at the district, Distinguished Toastmaster Talha bin Hamid is a person who cannot be, said, who is DTM Talha bin Hamid? And if training coming from him is the best a judge or to be judge can get for this. Duration for this judges training will be for 30 minutes. Timer, please note, you have to show that card at 25, 27 and 30. Let's wait for Distinguished Toastmaster Talha bin Hamid. He's not at the screen. It's not in the room. Toastmaster Imran, can I ask you to please call him if it's convenient for you?
Yes, he is online. I've sent him a message. He's joining.
Okay. Just to keep the mic going, it was my wonderful experience yesterday at District 20, where I also witnessed the judges training by the international speech, and the table topic was the sessions which were judges training went with. I was a guest speaker over there, had a good experience. It is a need, because many of them we take it as granted, as we all are fan of cricket. So if there is a wrong LBW decision, we are our own like no, he has to be played like that, or something the other way around. We start criticizing or becoming our own judge. But here, it's not responsibility of that speaker. It's the responsibility of the judge, who can make and break for that person who has given so much of strength and encouragement to make the content, then his expressions, and then he has a lot of guidance. Judges are really very important. I feel if I can ask Toastmaster Urusa Kamal if she can share some of her experience. I know she's been one of the great help for the district year 2020 and 2021. Toastmaster Urusa, can we hear from you?
Thank you so much, Toastmaster Latif. Yes, obviously, judges are a really important factor in completing the contests. Toastmaster Latif, exactly what should I be saying?
I
Judges
know,
about
I know
judges.
that. I know you have been always there,
Yes.
in that J5, J3, J4.
Yeah. Yeah.
So share one of your experience where you felt like, how important
Okay.
judges
Sorry.
are or make and
Latif.
break for the
Uh,
contestant.
okay, you can complete this question since Talha is facing technical issues. So I can go first if you want. But
Okay.
before that, first complete your question.
Yes. Toastmaster Rusa, please.
Okay. Obviously, a contest, Toastmaster Latif and everyone else, a contest can't be complete without the insight of the judges. But what I feel is the training of the judges, the background and the experience that they bring with them is very important. I remember in a few of the contests, the variable experience of the judges, the difference in experience of the judges, that led to let's just say a difference in opinion on whether people should be staying in the contest or leaving the contest. And that is very important, obviously. Someone who should be competing and should not be competing, that's very important. I think that's from my side.
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. Well said, Toastmaster Rusa. One member who doesn't have a title, but he is always around the title holders. He is the backbone of Karachi Toastmasters Club. I feel 2 times VP Education and motivator to all the speakers, just to come ahead. If we all are here as around 11 members, 10 of them will say the same thing. I am today speaking just because Toastmaster Imran messaged me. So thank you very much, Toastmaster Imran, for once again giving us your time and bringing it us to the best of your knowledge, sharing the advices for the judges. Toastmaster Imran, let's invite him with a huge round of applause. Toastmaster Imran Rana.
Okay, Talha is in the meeting, I guess.
You are playing musical chair with me.
Oh,
Yes.
apologies. My all connections were messing up. So apologies for that.
Okay, now who is going to
say?
I invited both of them.
Let Talha
Can
go.
the audience decide who they want to listen to?
Let Talha goes first. I want to listen Talha.
Okay. Let's invite distinguished Toastmaster Talha bin Hamid to share his views about how a judge role is important, especially in humorous speech contest. Over to you.
Okay. Thank you so much, Toastmaster Latif. Once again, apologies from my side. We were almost on schedule, except for the disconnection. So we are now around 10 minutes behind, I believe, but I'll try to make it up. So first of all, humorous speech contest. One needs to understand the nature of this contest first. Humorous speech contest is not about humor. Yes, you heard that right. Humorous speech contest is not about humor. First and foremost, it is about crafting a purposeful, eloquent, and well-drafted speech, which should contain elements of humor. That's pretty much it. So if you look at the ballot, if you look at the rules for humorous speech contest, it is very similar to that of international speech contest. In fact, you'll hardly find any difference. The only difference is that the speech is expected to contain humor. So this is the first takeaway, that being a humorous speech contestant or judge does not give you a license to ignore the technical and aesthetic aspects of a speech. It needs to be first an international speech contest speech, and then you can add layers of humor. It can be humorous, of course, because the line is further blurred when you realize that most of the contest winning international speech contest speeches are humorous speeches as well. They can fall into both the categories. In Toastmasters, humor is not slapstick comedy. It is not exaggeration, because for that, Tall Tales is there. It's not inserting jokes into the speech just for the sake of it. It is about having a purposeful speech, which can even be serious. So this is the first thing to understand humorous speech contest. Secondly, about judging any contest, I will share some tips. And these tips are specific to myself, which I use, which I have found useful. You can use your own techniques to judge. The way I judge is I judge every speech in the 30 seconds, in the 1 minute given after every speech. I'm very reluctant to change that score, because in that period of time, you are in full recall of the speech memory is fresh in your mind. I also judge by forgetting all the other speeches that were made previously. If you don't do that, you won't be objective. So when you are judging any speech, whether it's the first speech or the seventh speech, you need to be objective and you need to forget about all the speeches. Third technique that I use is, even when I find a category outstanding, I never give them 100 marks. I give them 80, 85 maximum. Why is that? Because there might be something that comes along later. That is, even if I give 100 marks to someone or 95 marks to someone, and in another speech, that category is much better, how many marks will I give them, right? For example, if purpose or body language is absolutely fantastic in a speech, and I give them 10 out of 10 for that, right? And then someone comes along who actually makes the previous speech look average by comparison, because their body language is far superior. I will still be giving them 10. So I will be essentially equating both the contestants, whereas the quality of their body language will be different. So be conservative with your marks. Remember one thing. Your marks are your marks alone. They're not making it anywhere beyond your ballot paper. They will not be communicated to the chief judge. Your marks are not aggregated to emerge into a combined score. Instead, what you'll be doing is 1, 2, 3. First place, second place, third place. So your marks are your property. You first place can come at 65 marks. Your first place can come at 95 marks. Your first place can come at 85 marks. Doesn't matter. What matters is your marking criteria should be consistent across all the contestants. So if your average is, let's say, 65, for an average performance in the category, it should be 65 for all the contestants. So that is one thing to remember. Now we will move on to the all-important ballot. And this is equally important for judges and contestants both. If you see, this is the humorous speech contest ballot. I haven't opened the international speech contest ballot by mistake. This is the humorous speech contest ballot. And the first thing you notice is what I pointed out earlier. It is barely different from the international speech contest ballot, right? Speech development is there. Structure, organization, support, material. That means your speech needs to have a point. It needs to have a purpose. That is why it will have a structure and organization. And when do you need support material? when you're presenting an idea or an argument. So that means that your speech, whether humorous or not, should have support material and ideas that need support, right? Then effectiveness, achievement of purpose, interest, perception. Now, this is a slippery slope. Some people insist that every speech needs to have a lesson in order for it to have a purpose. Let me repeat that. Some people believe that every speech needs to have a lesson in order for it to have a purpose. But for me, both things are separate. A lesson is a life lesson. Right? Usually the lesson in all or 90% of Toastmasters speeches is that you will face troubles. And if you stay steadfast, you have faith in yourself, you will work yourself way out of trouble, right? That's the lesson, right? Essentially a crisis, and it follows the conventional story technique. There's a setup and a background, right? Then there's the world building where the elements of the story are set. Then there is crisis or drama, right? And then there is resolution. So if you see, most Toastmaster speakers follow that pattern because ultimately that's a classical structure of a story. And stories work best, no matter what context you're in. But the purpose could be just to entertain or make audience think. For example, if you look at last year's Verity Prizes speeches, both the semi-final and final speeches, they were both about their parents. And this year's winner, I'm not mentioning because with all due respect, I failed to find a single purpose in that speech. It seemed to have multiple purposes and too many loose ends. So instead, I'll defer to Verity Prizes speeches. Those were the speeches, essentially they had the same thing. How as teenagers or children, we ridicule our parents and we do not find any value in their advices. But when we grow up, we find that they were right. Essentially, both the semi-final speech and the final speech was based around this idea. So your speech can have a lecture in the end that, life gives you lemons, make lemonade or something like that, or someone very rightly said, or, there can be all sorts of moral lessons, or it does not need to have that. Instead, it can make you think. It can make you think about your past. It can make you think about what your life choices are and what they need to be. It can make you think about what your approach has been. Doesn't need to have a specific spelled out moral lesson, in my opinion, at least. As long as that purpose is clear through the speech, doesn't need to be spelled out. But again, there are various schools of thought on that. And most people think that if the conclusion has a lesson, that is a safer way to go. So that is what I will advise the contestants here. That even if you feel that you've conveyed your lesson or purpose well through your speech, opening, beginning, and transition to the conclusion, even then, you can add one or two lines of a lesson. And why is that? Because the reality is that judges come from amongst us. Some of them can catch that message, the subtle message in the speech. Maybe some of them can't, and they're constantly looking for that two-line lecture in the end. That there will be many tough situations in life, and life will throw you all sorts of tricky situations that you cannot control. But what you can control is how you react to them, etc. Something like that. So it is safe if you're really going for the top position in a contest. It is best to cover all bases, and covering all bases means catering to all sorts of audiences. Interest and reception. And this is a little tricky too, because audience interest can be gauged by the judge looking at the audience's faces. But how they will look at the audience's faces if they're busy marking the ballot. So it's a tricky situation. what usually happens is, as a former judge, I can tell you that what really happens is that we consider ourselves as proxies of the audience. And we check our reaction to a speech to really see that how audience would react. Because of course, we cannot see, it's not realistic to expect that we will exactly gauge the audience's reception. We cannot exactly go around to the audience with a microphone. Okay, how did you find the speech? How did you find the speech? Did the speech move you? Was the speech humorous? No, you can't do that. You only have to use your own perception. So you can use any technique for that, but looking at the audience's faces or the way they respond or laugh, especially in a humorous contest, that can be a good indication. But at the same time, don't fall for that. Because if you're looking for laughs, they may not come. Every humorous speaker knows that the jokes are, you never know whether a joke will end or land or not, right? Whether a joke will make audience laugh or not. Instead, a joke may make the audience smile. Your speech may be humorous, so the audience starts smiling like this in the start, and they can continue smiling till the end. If the speech makes the audience do that, even that will be a great audience reception. Or if they chuckle from time to time at the punchlines, and the speaker is giving enough pause for the audience to show the reaction, even then it will be a good audience reaction. Let me give you an example how expectations sometimes are so deceived by reality. I had a speech which was the last speech in the humorously speaking manual. I gave it at Karachi Toastmasters Club, and I had a very strict evaluator who was expecting something like a comedy routine, basically. And so did the audience. Nobody laughed. It was about my college days. And I understand that at Karachi Toastmasters Club, most of the members are so old that their college days are centuries behind. So they've forgotten about their college days. And I'm including myself in that. So that means that the humor really did not land, right? I gave the same speech at Express Toastmasters Club, and I recall that it was evaluated by DTM Sarfaraz. It was evaluated by the late founder of Express Toastmasters Club, and heaven knows why I have forgotten his name, but Mazhar Jameen, DTM Mazhar Jameen. And the audience laughed, and he found it very humorous too, because guess what? Express's membership consists of much younger people who are in college or universities or who are fresh out of college and universities. So it was essentially the same speech. Yes, I did make some improvements in delivery, but it found a completely different reaction. So when you find your speech humorous, it doesn't necessarily mean that the audience will find it too. So you have to try your best. You have to be very conscious of audience's reaction. All right. And I will, at this point, alert Mr. Timer to turn on the green light when, let's say, 28 minutes are over. All right. All right. Speech value, ideas, logic, original thought. And that has 15 marks. So first of all, it goes without saying that your speech should have some original ideas that should come from your life. They should not come from quotations. They should not come from other speeches. That should not be based on tried and true techniques of speeches. There should be some original thought. That will get you an easy 5 marks. Then, of course, it should be logical. Again, casting my mind back to the humorously speaking manual, and many of the audience members remember that manual fondly. It said that a humorous speech is not supposed to be a sequence of jokes. It needs to have logic. It needs to have a structure. And of course, it needs to have ideas. So the more originality and unexpected ideas you will cram into your speech, the higher it will score. And same goes for the judges. So I know I'm constantly switching between the judge and contestant mindset here, but if you think about it, they're really the same, because the speech that judges will rate highly is the speech that is supposed to be prepared by the contestants. So it's really the two sides of the same coin. Then audience response, attentiveness, laughter, interest, reception. Now, heaven knows why interest reception has been repeated here. But as you can see, audience response is something that sets humorous speech contests apart from international speech contests. Here it has 15 marks. And yes, laughter has some marks as well. But again, attentiveness is what really counts. If the audience is attentive, their eyes are moving with the speaker, they are sitting upright, their faces are responding to the various situations in the speech, that is a sign of attentiveness. Then, of course, laughter. If the audience laughs during a speech, all right, that is, of course, a great sign of the speech succeeding as a humorous speech. But be very careful. We encountered a situation 2-3 years ago where a person made a humorous speech in English, and yet all their punchlines were in Punjabi or Urdu. So the audience laughed, of course, and the judges did not know how to mark that. So they ended up on the podium, despite the fact that they switched languages mid-speech. So we placed further restrictions on the contest rules after that. But the laughter should come for the right reasons. The laughter should come at someone's joke. The laughter should come as a result of a funny situation in the speech. It should not come if the person makes an unconscious movement, or they switch languages, or they maybe make an insulting or offensive comment about anyone. And if the laughter comes from that, I believe at least that should not be scored, because the speech needs to be not only technically sound, but also globally acceptable. So be very mindful of that. In my personal opinion, again, this is my personal opinion, yes, laughter should score highly, but only when it comes for the right reasons. Then, of course, physical appearance, body language, and speaking area. Since this particular contest that we are talking about will be, inshallah, physical, so all of that will apply to the fullest extent. First of all, appearance, how the contestant is dressed. Why do I give that importance? To some, that may sound not really appropriate to judge someone's dressing, but we're not talking about expensive clothes or grooming that results from spending 5 hours in a beauty parlor. No, what we're expecting is simple, dignified clothing and a good state of grooming, right? Comb hair. Why is that important? Because it shows that the contestant respects their audience and respects the platform. And that's true for any meeting. It's not just true for Toastmasters, right? If you turn up at work shabbily dressed or unironed clothes or not properly groomed, that shows that you don't bother, that you don't have enough respect for people you meet, will see. So that applies equally to a Toastmasters meeting, right? If you cast your mind back to the Toastmasters value, integrity, service, respect, and excellence. So it's part of respect and excellence that you should be properly dressed. Secondly, body language and speaking area. Of course, body language, in my opinion, needs to serve the needs of the speech. So if the speech is a story with quite a few dialogues, but very little movement, you should ask yourself, instead of marking them down, that no, there was not much body language. Ask yourself, what do you expect the speaker to do? There is a school of speakers which believes in adding gymnastics to every speech, right? They will do something unexpected. They will jump on the stage. They will perform essentially a circus. And I'm not saying that in a derogatory term. I'm just saying that because over the years, there is a certain expectation developed due to this ballot and due to other speech contests, that the more you will do a thing, the higher you will score marks on this ballot. Because in this ballot, there are no marks for balance. So that balance, you have to bring yourself. And let me make you recall a recent example where the ballot is not everything. In a recent speech contest, I witnessed that a person was talking about their mother, and they were actually mimicking her actions in a very insulting manner. And I did not find it pleasant, because you don't want to see anyone mimicking their mother in an insulting manner. Yes, we mimic our parents and loved ones and children all the time, but there's a difference between insulting them and celebrating them. And there's a very fine line. So I just felt that that person was using that mimicry to score marks in body language and movement and humor, right? At the expense of his mother. So I could not abide by that. And no matter what the ballot says, I would not have given them marks for that. But then they did something worse. From mimicking the actions of the mother, they moved to a death in the family straight away. And that person actually shared their speech with me prior to the contest. And I told them that I find it very offensive. It is in bad taste. It is as if you are exploiting the emotions in your life. You're exploiting a tragedy in your life just to score marks on the ballot. And that is one example where the ballot may say something else, but your heart may say something other. So listen to your heart, because we don't want to encourage speeches who are employing such gimmicks just to score marks. We want to encourage speeches that are eloquent, that are entertaining, but that also uphold the values of integrity, respect, service, and excellence, and making humanity better, making this world a better place. So, while evaluating a speech in subjective criteria, ask yourself, is this speech fulfilling the Toastmasters core values? Because if it isn't, I will be free to deduct marks. At least that is what I will do. Because if we make it a question of simple mathematics, perhaps the speech that wins will be the best in terms of entertaining the audience, but it will also be insulting. It will also be offensive. Again, let me give you another example about the point I'm trying to make. What if the speech contains a racial slur? What if the speech contains insult to a specific community? Audience will laugh, of course, because offensive, racial, racist, sexist jokes are the most ready source of humor. Right? But should you really be doing that? So if someone makes a racist joke in their speech and the audience laugh, would you really score them highly in achievement of purpose, interest in reception, and attentiveness and laughter? So think about, while marking, think about what kind of speeches you need to encourage people to make. All right? The speeches should be brilliant, they should be technically sound, they should be humorous, but they should also be respectful. They should also be dignified. They should not create humor through awkwardness or through exploiting emotions or through bringing race or gender or age into the question. A third example to illustrate that point. Maybe some of you have seen Saturday Night Live, the comedy sketch show that is aired by NBC and it's available on YouTube. Of course, in stand-up comedy or in a comedy sketch show, you routinely offend other communities, you routinely offend people, you make fun of people, and that's where the humor comes from. But sometimes they make fun of old people in a certain way. They cast young actors to mimic old people, and they do it in a very insulting way. And every time I see that, I think to myself that if a really old person who is actually in a wheelchair or who has a urine bag hanging by their side or who takes a stick while walking, if they're watching this, how would they feel? So I know it's a long debate that whether comedians should offend people or not. But there is a fine line, and your heart tells you which side of the line the joke was on. If it was respectful, but at the same time, it was funny, it was gently creating humor out of emulating the actions of a certain class of people without really insulting them, you know in your heart that that was not an insult. But on the contrary, if it is an insult, you will know that too. Then, so we were on physical, and I don't know how did we get to this point where we are discussing offensive jokes, but all right. So body language, appearance, and speaking area, they should all serve the content of speech. If it is a story with a lot of dialogues, naturally the body language will be low, but vocal variety, voice modulation will be high, right? If it is a speech which has a lot of action, naturally you would want the speaker to move around a lot, right? To mimic those actions. If it is a speech which is complex and has a lot of parts, you naturally expect the speaker to plan their movement so that there's a visual distinction between the various segments of their speech. But my message to everyone is, don't expect high level of body language and utilization of speaking area in all speeches, because not all speeches require it. The body language and usage of speaking area should serve the speech rather than just be there to score marks on this ballot. Because if a contestant will do that, it will take away from the speech which does not require it. Voice flexibility and volume. Of course, that is also something that we've seen. Some people introduce shouts and whispers into their speech. God knows I used to do that just to score highly on vocal variety and just to ensure that evaluators would not tell me that, your speech was good, but it lacked vocal variety. Because to this day, this is the comment I hear the most. So initially, the way I countered it was, I used to identify specific areas in my speech where I had to raise my voice or I had to turn it to a whisper or something like that. And it worked for a while, but then I realized that everybody has a natural speaking style. So when you're looking for vocal variety, again, look whether the speech requires a great degree of vocal variety or just a little bit of vocal variety and score accordingly. Then there's manner, directness, assurance, and enthusiasm. So these are very subjective areas. But manner, especially assurance and enthusiasm, are usually conveyed by the flow of it. If the flow is great, and if the speaker is showing a lot of facial expressions, they're clearly enjoying the moment, then of course they will be assured and enthusiastic. If there's a lot of energy, you will feel that lot of energy, right? And directness. So how do you gauge directness? Stare at the speaker and ask yourself whether they're really speaking to you or at you. Because some speakers, sometimes when they feel less confident, myself included, we imagine the audience not to be there and we speak to the wall behind the audience. So yeah, I'm guilty of doing that as well, because even today, many times I feel very, very jittery and scared. And the place that I feel the most jittery and scared is, can anyone guess? Any guesses? the place that scares me the most?
ATC?
No, not really. A little bit beyond that.
Rhetorical question. You're not sure what they might
Uh,
answer your audience.
Yeah, actually, the place that makes me the most scared as a speaker. No, not home. Not home. The place that scares me the most is the place. Yeah. But which stage? The place that scares me the most is the place that will host the contest tomorrow. ICAP stage, the auditorium stage. Whenever I get on that stage, it's so huge and the seats are going into infinity. And I have the added fear of being in the place that awarded me the degree of chartered accountancy and being the alma mater and everything. And surrounded by CAs who are doing far better than me in every respect, and seniors, and looking at other Toastmasters and that huge stage. So that place always scares me the most. So in that place, sometimes I'm able to make a connection to a specific audience member, right? Looking at them while speaking, and if they respond, well and good. But many times I end up staring at the back wall. So yeah, that's how life is. So you should look at the eyes and face of a speaker when gauging directness, assurance, and enthusiasm, and you will gauge all three. Appropriateness to speech, purpose, and audience. And again, the speech purpose is supposed to have a humorous speech, but also to have a purposeful speech that gives something to the audience to think about. So, also, appropriateness will also include the absence of offensive content. But again, I believe that it should not be just part of appropriateness and just scored out of 10, but also in speech development as well. Because if your whole speech is based around some racial or ethnic or ageist idea that is potentially offensive to a lot of audience members, and you're creating humor out of that, and people are laughing on that, you should ask yourself whether that speech's development was correct or not. Remember, that is my opinion at least, the primary purpose of a speech is not to win contests. The primary purpose of a speech should always be to make this world a better place, to give the audience something to think about, and as a side bonus, also keep the audience engaged and entertained. So in that order, right? In that order, a speech can be very humorous, but it can also be offensive and purposeless. So it's a very, very subjective area, but I believe I've conveyed my ideas about it. So then, of course, grammar, pronunciation, word selection, and in usual Toastmasters meeting, we don't pay much attention to pronunciation, but in a contest, we are supposed to pay attention. Why? Because contestants are supposed to prepare their speeches, and if their pronunciation is a little bit off, they can always look to a coach or a mentor to correct their pronunciation. They are expected to make that effort. So just don't give them a free pass just because they have a strong accent, right? And you tell yourself that, okay, he or she has accent, they cannot help it really. But, no, that's not how it's supposed to be. They're supposed to work at other areas, including grammar, pronunciation, and word selection. And let me tell you one thing, and that may sound inappropriate to a lot of people, but it's not actually inappropriate. Sometimes subconsciously we give people allowance, right? If someone has a very good command of English language, thanks to their schooling, right? And if someone does not have a good command, again, thanks to their schooling, right? We have all studied in different schools. So our command on the language is not the same, right? But the equalizer is that every speaker for this contest at least is supposed to work at their grammar and pronunciation. They're expected to work on it. So if someone clearly has not made an effort, if someone's speech is full of grammatical errors, feel free to mark them down. If someone's pronunciation makes the speech difficult to understand, feel free to mark them down. If someone's word selection is not appropriate with the speech, feel free to mark them down. Don't give them allowances. Don't be accommodating. Don't be overly gentle because they're supposed to work at these areas in addition to other areas. Just like you will not compromise on speech structure, just like you will not compromise on timing, you should also not compromise on grammar, pronunciation, and word selection. You should judge everyone on the same scale. So that brings my session to a close. Thank you so much, Toastmaster Azhar Khan. And I don't know, I maybe exceeded my time, but over to you, Toastmaster.
Distinguished Toastmaster Talal bin Hamid, one thing which I particularly know that you time your own speeches also. Not that you are so good that you can even match your ahs and ums while listening to your own speech. So you have overtimed it. Let's move on with the help of this to another section of what judges has to do or don't do. So now let's invite Toastmaster Imran Rana, who is not in the meeting.
Yeah, who actually had some emergency.
Okay.
So actually, again, you'll have to tolerate me again for this particular session as well.
Okay. So let's hear what we have to do and don'ts. And this session also will be for 15 minutes, right, sir?
Ideally,
Yes.
20 to 25 minutes. Originally, the timing was half an hour, but I'll try to. Toastmaster Azhar, can you tell me how much time did I take for the humorous speech session?
Around 10 minutes, actually. Do's and don'ts on the according to the agenda.
Sorry?
So you took
Agenda says do and don't for 10.
No. Actually, that follows the table topics contest training, right? So, sorry, can I get once again, how much time did I take for the humorous contest training? 36 minutes?
Yes. You have taken 36 minutes.
Actually, sorry, can you repeat because there's something wrong with my connection?
Sir, your time was 30 minutes. You have taken 36 minutes. But now,
All right.
Rana, his time is 30 minutes.
All right. So, So his session, since I exceeded my time, maybe we were already running a little bit late. So his session, the session for table topics is supposed to end by 12:20. So it will be my best effort to end it, but you should time it for 20 minutes, Toastmaster. All right. Time it for 20 minutes. So everyone, I'll be sharing the presentation. Just give me a second. Toastmaster Imran had prepared this presentation. So let me take you through this. So table topics contest. If I were to tell you in a nutshell what you're supposed to look for in a table topic speech, it's very easy. A table topic speech needs to have every element of an international speech, except it needs to be limited to 2.5 minutes. Yes, I know that sounds extremely challenging, but that's what table topics contest is about. And this is where also it differs from the usual table topics session that we have in club meetings, because in table topics contests, what we do is in table topic sessions, there are some creative ways to challenge the audience with a table topics question. So there are various ways people gamify it. For example, in the last meeting of KTC and CA, and the table topics master actually asked the audience to switch, asked the speakers to switch between supporting an argument and then going against that argument within the same speech. So, but that is not what the contest is about. In the contest, you'll be given a topic which will be simple and easy, and it will be good to, good for making the people speak rather than challenge them. So this is the main difference. In a table topics contest, the contest chair assigns a topic that is supposed to encourage the contestants to speak and pour their heart out, rather than challenge them or make life difficult for them. So if you see content, yes, again, this is the table topics ballot, it's not the international speech contest, right? But speech development, opening, body, close, organization, smoothness, all of that you're supposed to develop in response to your table topics question, and within a few seconds. So make no mistake, your speech, if I say to the judges that you should judge a speech of table topics as if it was an international speech contest speech. Similarly to the contestants, I say that you should deliver your table topic speech as if it was a prepared speech. That is the crux of everything in 2 lines. So it should have an opening, body, and close, and organization, and smoothness. And maybe you may miss out on certain things because it is extempore after all. But make sure it has a proper opening and closing. And you can practice a predefined opening and closing even before the contest. Because of course it will depend on the topic. The body will depend on the topic. Maybe close will also depend on the topic. But opening can be learned. Then, for example, my opening can simply be, fellow Toastmaster judges and fellow contestants, a good day to you. I mean, this will give you confidence. If you prepare a canned opening, that will buy you a few seconds of time, and that will also give you confidence. So judges look for all these elements. Secondly, effectiveness, logic, directness, enthusiasm, achievement of purpose, audience response. So first of all, it should be logical. Again, it cannot be a random collection of words. A table topic speech should be a coordinated thing. It need not be a story though, but it needs to have all the elements of a speech, and it needs to be logical. For example, what does logic include? First of all, I believe at least that in usual table topics, we just ask the people to speak for 1 minute. But in a table topics contest, they're supposed to respond to the question. So they're supposed to stick to the topic. They're not free to deviate away from the topic. So it needs to have logic, directness, enthusiasm, right? Logic means that it should be logical. It should tie itself to the topic given. Directness is the speaker should be communicating directly with the audience. Enthusiasm, achievement of purpose, and purpose, again, I would link to the topic given. Because, for example, if the contest topic is, what is your worst childhood memory? And if the speaker does not end up talking about their childhood memory, they have not achieved the purpose. They may score highly in speech development scores, but if it has nothing to do with the topic, then it will suffer. Secondly, and thirdly, physical appearance, body language, and speaking area. And of course, it is as per other contests as well. It should serve the topic. It should serve the speech. Voice, flexibility, and volume. Again, according to the content of speech, the speech should have proper vocal variety and volume. Appropriateness to speech purpose and audience. Again, appropriateness also you can tie it to the speech topic, because in table topics, there can be only 2 purposes: to speak extempore, number 1, and number 2, to respond to the question, right? You can't think of any other purpose, right? And of course, audience. And in humorous as well as table topics, in any contest, in fact, you should take into account the audience. For example, if I make a speech about a topic that only I am interested in, and I can't explain it well to the audience, I can't make audience care about that topic, then perhaps I've not done my job and I'll lose marks. In one international speech contest that I witnessed, an excellent speaker, in fact, one of the best speakers that I know, they spoke about parliamentary debates, right? What are the challenges in parliamentary debates and how did they do in parliamentary debates? Why do they love parliamentary debates? What they did not do is define what are parliamentary debates and why should the audience care about them. So they were kind of indulging themselves. They were talking about something they loved, but they could not make the audience care about that particular topic. Why should the audience care about parliamentary debates? And again, that's just one example. I believe they could have easily won that contest, but they suffered at the start, right? So keep your topics such, and that not only goes for table topics, but every contest. Keep your topics such that audience finds value and entertainment in it. And then, of course, correctness, grammar, pronunciation, and word selection. Maybe you can be a little lenient on this, given that this is an extempore contest. But again, that does not mean that you should completely not consider grammar, pronunciation, and word selection. So this is your table topics. Content 55 marks, delivery 30 marks, and language 15 marks. Notice how, contrary to popular perception, content is king in table topics as well. All right. And content does not necessarily just mean the words that are spoken, but how they are spoken. I know that should fall in delivery. For example, I believe that enthusiasm should fall in delivery. But again, these are various interpretations of things. But your speech should be purposeful. It should have a proper structure. Trust me on this. If your speech has a proper structure, if it sounds like a prepared speech, you're 90% there. Your speech is most likely to win if it sounds the best like a prepared speech. So this is all about table topics. And there's an explanation also. I strongly urge everyone to read something, and that something is, let me share. We tend to focus on just the ballot. There is something even more important than the marks on the ballot, and this is this. So everyone, many of your questions will be answered in the explanation of judging criteria. So, for example, speech development, as I said, it will contain all the components of a speech. It should be supported by relevant, and I'm talking about the humorous contest right now, but this is pretty much applicable to table topics contests as well. It should be the development of the speech structure supported by relevant examples, illustration, facts, and figures. So of course, then you once again come to realize that humorous speech should be logical, and it should present an idea or a proposal. Then effectiveness, audience reflection, the large part is your subjective judgment. As I said earlier, you should put yourself in the shoes of the audience, right? Then speech value justifies the act of speaking. The speaker has a responsibility to say something meaningful and original to the audience. Imagine, remember, I emphasize about originality, giving a new idea. So this is where it comes from. So then audience response, of course, then the delivery. So everyone, please read up on this, both for humorous and for table topics contest. For table topics contest, this is the explanation, and you will see that the explanations are shockingly similar, except for the fact that did this, for example, effectiveness here, speech development is pretty similar. In fact, it is identical to what you saw for humorous speech, and it will be identical to what you will see in international speech contests as well. Then secondly, effectiveness. Now, this is where something specific comes. It's your subjective judgment of how the response comes across. Were you able to determine the speaker's purpose? Did the speech relate directly to the given question and logically presented? Then, of course, we move on to physical aspects. And again, this is very similar to numerous contest or international competition. And then there's a voice. Again, very similar. Appropriateness of language refers to the choice of words that relate, and correctness. So appropriateness is when you choose the correct words to match the subject of your speech, and correctness is, of course, technical correctness. Now, moving on quickly, we are now moving directly to the do's and don'ts, right? So, timer, please note, this is supposed to be a 10-minute session. Be fair and impartial in your judging. That goes without saying that you are judges. So, of course, we need to be fair and impartial. Be attentive to every speaker. You know, we are all. Example, I may not like someone, right? Or I may be turned off by their topic. For example, once again, let's give that example. Parliamentary debates. I absolutely hated that topic. Thank God I was not a judge. I was a contestant myself. Absolutely hated that. Why is this speaker boring us all with something we don't care about? Were I a judge, maybe I would have been biased towards marking them lower. But no, I needed to be fair and impartial. So I did not need to care whether parliamentary debates mattered to me. But yes, I needed to care whether they would be fair to every, familiar to every audience member. So that is where being attentive comes from. Whether you like the topic, whether you like the speaker, whether you like their appearance, whether you like their accent, you need to listen to each and every one. Resist your temptation to mark highly. So yeah, that's where, remember I said that even when I mark someone highly, I keep them at 80 or 85 maximum. That gives you room. Avoid halo effect and reverse halo effect. So for example, I know that time is not coming anytime soon, but any of our district officers, for example, our area director is there and our PQD is there, right? So for example, if Toastmaster Muiz actually chose to compete in a contest, and he's a very well-known person, it could go both ways for him, right? For people who know him, there would be a school where they would say that, okay, fine, we know him, so we should score them highly. So that's a halo effect. If someone is a celebrity speaker, for example, someone like BTM Zed or Toastmaster Noman Abid, right? Or maybe someone like Toastmaster Vania Basi. If they're speaking, you can fall into one of two traps. You can be too lenient on them, or you can be too strict on them. So you should balance that out. You should be none of those things. Let me give you another example that is potentially quite offensive, but I can't resist. When a movie is made by a person of color in Hollywood, these days it is held to an entirely different standard. So that's a halo effect, because people want to be supportive of diversity, right? They end up encouraging directors and actors of color, which is of course no bad thing. But sometimes what I personally feel is they end up supporting completely stupid, idiotic, substandard work just because it was made by a person of color. So ask yourself this, that whether you're scoring someone highly because of who they are, if you are doing that, that's a halo effect. Similarly, reverse halo effect. If BTM Z comes on the stage and you're extra hard on him because he's an experienced speaker, he's a multiple DTM, he's a contest winning speaker, even that's not fair to him, because every speech starts from zero. Every person works hard on their speech. And if BTM Z won a contest based on one speech, he's not about to repeat that speech. He's making another speech, and he started working on that speech from zero all over again. So he should not be suffer. He should not suffer just because he scored well in one contest, that means that you have a license to be extra hard on him? No. So evaluate every contestant as if, number one, you don't know them, and number two, you're hearing them for the first time. That is the easiest approach to avoid halo effect and reverse halo effect. You don't know the contestant and you're hearing them for the first time. As covered by the next one, past performance should never influence the current performance. Maybe as a judge, you found a person's previous performance to be very substandard, but now they've improved substantially, and you're tempted to give them the highest mark just because they've improved. But no, remember, you're hearing them for the first time and you don't know the contestant. And finally, don't judge contestants on your own norms. So again, your personal likes and dislikes have nothing to do with the contestant. Then we have don'ts. These were the do's, these were the don'ts. Prejudices and personal preferences, of course, they should not be there. We are not timers. Judges are not timers. Sorry, I'm not a judge by any means. So please, I'm the chief judge. So judges are not timers. You should not look at the clock, because looking at the clock may bring bias into your evaluation. Either way, if they qualify or if they don't qualify, it has no relevance. Make sure there will be no tie. Even to this day, we receive ballots that have placed joint first or second place. No, you have to draw the line. You have to take the decision. You have to place first, second, and third. If find any material copied and that material, according to your judgment, is more than 25%, and you can not to downgrade the score and mark that contestant according to balance. So this is very important. You will raise a protest, of course, as a judge or as a contestant. You find something copied, and you're not, even if you're not sure if it exceeded 25%, it is best to be safe than sorry. Because it may sound negative, but trust me, you're doing everyone a favor when you bring originality into a question and when you're raising a protest on the question of originality, because that the winning speech will travel to area, division, and district. And you don't want your district to be represented by someone who copies content. Think about it this way. As judges, as contestants, you are not only supposed to fulfill your duties, you have a duty towards the overall quality and public relation of the district that you belong to. And you don't want any person to get away with copying, because at division or district level, there will be foreign judges. And what if one of the judges discovers copied content that you let slip and they point it out, and then they ask, how did this page make through club and area and division? How will that make us look? That will make the whole district look bad. So we have a collective responsibility to report plagiarism, even if we suspect something was taken from somewhere and it was not. It is best to say sorry to that person and move on. Because if you fail to report something and it turns out to be copied, that's far more damaging. So be courageous. Trust me, you're not offending that person by reporting copying, even if they may think so, right? Even if the contestant may think so. As judges, our duty is to clamp down on plagiarism and discourage people from using other people's ideas. So, what is plagiarism? This is a very extensive topic, and I'll just give you a few pointers. It's not enough for plagiarism, for a speech not to be original. It does not need to have been lifted word for word from somewhere. Even if its main idea is lifted, even if it is less than 25% of the speech. For example, just take this example. You know the story of Little Red Riding Hood, right? What if I change the name of that central character to something like the girl in the red hat, right? And I change the name of the big bad wolf to Big Bad Bear. And I change the forest to jungle, I will have fulfilled all the criteria of not copying the material word for word, right? I will have changed every word. So there's no Little Red Riding Hood, there's no Big Bad Wolf, there's no forest, but there is a girl in a red hat, there is a big bad bear, and there's a jungle. So it's the same thing. So ask yourself this: if someone's central idea is taken from somewhere else, even that will count as material copying. It does not have to be just word copying, but idea copying as well. So that brings us to the end of the do's and don'ts. And finally, we'll just briefly cover the code of ethics. So, for example, judges would consciously avoid bias of any kind, selecting first, second, third, and they will not consider anything in selecting, right? Judges will not time the speeches and not consider the possibility of overtime or undertime. Judges will support by word and lead the contest rules and judging standard, refraining from public criticism of the contest in the willing show, and ranking only in accordance with official policy. So that brings us to the close of the training portion. And if I am correct, now we have the time for Q&A. Mr. TMOD, can you please confirm?
Yes, we have time.
All right. Oh, all right, all right. Yeah, we have a little bit of time, but we'll curtail that Q&A to 10 minutes instead of 15 minutes, all right? So, Mr. Timer, please put 10 minutes on the clock. And we have a question from Toastmaster Muiz Naeem. Go ahead, Area Director Muiz Naeem. I will appreciate if you turn on your speaks.
Thank you so much, distinguished Toastmaster Tala. My question is about last year we have a club contest in which 15 members participate, in another contest 19 members participate. So in those contests, when I conversed with the voting judges, so they reported mental fatigue. That they were saying that it was very difficult for them to continually judge 19 people. So being a contestant, being a chief judge, what should we do to reduce that mental fatigue for the judges if the number of participants go in double figure?
Toastmaster Muiz, it's a tricky question, a tricky situation. And anyone can correct me if I'm wrong, especially people who are in other districts, DTM Surprise and Toastmaster Latif. Some clubs actually hold semi-finals and then finals. So maybe that's one way to address a large number of contestants, where you can divide the contestants into two groups and assign them a different set of judges and then hold the final. All right. So if there's a large number of contestants, for example, there are 19 contestants, there can be 10 contestants on one side and 9 on the other side. And I know that's not an ideal scenario. All 19 should be evaluated by the same set of judges. But again, as you said yourself, and it is a fair point that fatigue may also set in. So that can be one approach, but DTM Sarfraz, if you'd like to add something here, go ahead.
That's fine. Go ahead, DTM Talha.
All right. So Toastmaster Muiz, I think your question was answered.
Yes.
All right. Toastmaster Irfan, sir.
I have one question, some sort related with the debate of the day. When we participate in a table topic competition, we are given a title, and then we not table topic evaluation. I was talking about evaluation. Somebody delivers a very good speech, and then we have to evaluate the speech, and then we are judged upon our evaluation. So
Yes.
should there be a difference between delivering your evaluation and delivering a speech? Sometimes I have seen people winning an evaluation and it does not look like an evaluation. It more looks like a debate itself.
Yes.
So should there be
Yes.
a difference between delivering a evaluation and delivering a speech?
That's a very interesting question, Toastmaster Irfan, and that's a topic that is a kind of a burning question for me as well for years and years now. Thank you for raising that. Yes, I've seen contest winning evaluations and they're dramatic. They are, they are focused on the evaluator displaying their own dramatic skills rather than providing useful feedback to the speaker. If you look at the evaluation ballot, there is no mention of vocal variety. There is no mention of, body language. You can technically, you can even be invisible. You can just deliver your evaluation via audio, and you can still tick all the boxes on the evaluation speech contest ballot, because it's all about providing constructive evaluation to the speaker. So I will strongly urge you towards the function of the evaluator, which is to forget about themselves and keep the speaker in focus. I know I've seen contest winning evaluation from all over the world, and especially in the parts east of us, like India and parts west of us, Middle East. There's a certain, and I believe Toastmaster Hina Ali would agree, because he must have seen, and Toastmaster Latif would have seen that too. Those evaluations look like Bollywood chart masala blockbusters, where the evaluator is singing, they're running, they're dancing, they're spinning around trees. And as an aside, they mention something about the speaker in the speech. But what they're most focused on is themselves, how they are supposed to look on stage, how they're supposed to. And personally speaking, I would not rate that evaluation highly. In evaluation speech contests, the most marks are not even for objective evaluation. The most marks are for positivity. The more complimentary you are, the more positive and encouraging you are, the higher your ballot score. Secondly, your analytical skills should also come into play, but they are second to the positivity. So that is my answer to you, Toastmaster Irfan Farooqi, that yes, YouTube may suggest otherwise, but if you look at North American evaluation contests, yes, there's a certain degree of skill in presentation, but that skill is used to convey the point to the speaker and the audience. That is not used to showcase the speaker themselves, the evaluator themselves. So there should be a degree of vocal variety, gestures and everything, but they should be tied to the content of the evaluation. The primary purpose of the evaluation should be to encourage the speaker and to give them objective evaluation. And we should all judge an evaluation contest based on that, rather than make it an arms race about presentation skills, which evaluation most certainly is not. So that is my opinion, Toastmaster Irfan. I hope you got your answer.
Yes, thank you very much.
Yes, DTM Sarfraz, you wanted to add something?
Yes, I was going to add, the evaluation is a speech, opening, body, and conclusion, but not like you are giving a speech in the International Speech Contest. The focus is on what you liked about the speech and how can the speaker improve it. So it's not a requirement, as you mentioned, to have body language or run around on the stage, but in your evaluation as an evaluator, if you're telling the speaker that they did not have enough body language, then you need to give examples. And that's where the body language might come in. Or if you say, well, I did not see a whole lot of vocal variety in your presentation, then you need to give some vocal variety examples, not just simply say, add more vocal variety. So in that case, you're like, but, and also many times I've seen the evaluators, they like mentioned, debate or discuss the content. No, it's nothing to do with the content. I can agree or disagree with the content. I'm supposed to say, what did the speaker make me think or make me feel when he or she was speaking? And also, in my opinion, how can they improve that speech? And summary is the other thing, because that's why I said the structure should be there. You must have a conclusion or summary at the end, why you liked it and how it can be improved. A lot of people say, oh, that's all. That's all from me. So that's not the way to end the speech.
Yeah. summary in an evaluation contest has 15 marks. And from what I have judged, from what I've seen, the winners are and losers are decided in that conclusion. People who do a good conclusion tend to win. So excellent points, DTM Sarfraz. Thank you so much for putting it so beautifully that whatever skills you display should serve towards the content of your evaluation rather than displaying your skills. And yes, thanks for touching upon that. Another pain point that some evaluators end up presenting their own wish list. I wish you would have done this. I wish you would have done that. I wish we could have learned more about your grandmother. I wish we could have seen more of your dead husband. I mean, seriously, it's a 5 to 7 minute speech. Do you want a 75-minute keynote expanding each and every element? In fact, what the evaluator is doing is telling the speaker that, you know, your speech should have been this. Your speech as it was not good. Your speech should have been the way I envision it. And that's not the way to evaluate. You should stay within the envelope of the speech itself. Unless there's some glaring inconsistency, you're free to point them out. But I agree thoroughly with DTM Sarfraz that if you start commenting on content too much, rather than just the structure, if you go into content, it's an endless rabbit hole. You can end up making 25 recommendations from speaker. That, you know, I wish you would have covered your childhood a little more. You know, you mentioned that incident, but you did not mention how you felt after that incident. I mean, seriously, is it your wish list? Or would you have liked to rewrite the speech for the speaker? Avoid falling into that trap, because that's a very easy trap to fall into, but it does not end up adding value to the speakers. Thank you so much. Any more questions? Right. If we don't have any more questions, we can move on to the next segment, which is which for a few minutes at least will give you the benefit of seeing someone other than myself on stage. But bad news is that I'm the primary evaluator. So yeah, you can't have everything you want. So next is a project by DTM Sarfraz. And why is it special? First of all, because it is a project by DTM Sarfraz. Secondly, several people who have not witnessed the new style of evaluation that we've introduced, which has the modular evaluation, the advanced evaluation in a modular mode, will see it today, will witness it today. So what is the difference between a normal evaluation and an advanced evaluation? A normal evaluation is, of course, you've seen. An advanced evaluation is where a speaker is evaluated immediately after the speech by the primary evaluator. And then there's a host of round-robin evaluators that give their input. Usually that input is in the form of commendations and recommendations of 1 minute each. But in this particular scenario, what will happen is that we have changed things up a bit. Instead of going for conventional recommendations and commendations, we have divided the round-robin evaluation into 4 areas. The first one is visual, how the speech looked, how the speaker moved, how was their body language and gestures and facial expressions. Then auditory means how was the vocal variety, how was the voice modulation, was the voice clear, were the words audible. Then perceptive, was it well prepared, was it well structured, did the speaker connect well to the audience? And finally, language and structure. So language means, of course, appropriateness. Of course, language is grammar and just give me a second. Yeah, language is grammar plus how the language served the speech, and also was it grammatically correct or not. And this was suggested by a very good friend who's a member of Quantum Leap Toastmasters Club and Bollywood Toastmasters Club, DTM Sudarshan Seshadri. He came up with this idea of having modular evaluations, and We tested it out at Karachi Toastmasters Club and Quantum League, and it was found to be vastly superior to the current format. So if you see, all these 4 areas correspond roughly to the areas of a balance. So that's the beauty of this evaluation. And that is why it is important for the prospective judges and the contestants to witness the speech and the evaluation as well. So we have evaluation team. I will be the lead evaluator. Visually, it will be assessed by Toastmaster Azhar Khan. Auditory aspects will be assessed by Toastmaster Latif. Perceptive aspects were supposed to be assessed by Toastmaster Imran Rana, but he's not in the meeting. So if I can request Toastmaster Hina Ali, if you can you can cover the perceptive aspect, which means the speech's impact and its preparation. Would you be able to do that just for 1 minute? All right. Toastmaster Hina Ali is in, perfect. And for the 4th evaluator, we were supposed to have a TLI member, Toastmaster Ibtihaj Fatma, but she's not here, so maybe we can have another TLI member, Toastmaster Ahmed Shukru. Toastmaster Ahmed Shukru, would you be able to give your 1 minute evaluation about linguistic and structural aspects of the speech at the end of DTM Sarfaraz's speech?
Actually, I did not hear the speech. I cannot give the.
No, that speech. No. But speech is about to happen now. It's not being delivered.
All right, I'll give it.
All right. Perfect. Thank you so much. And let me recognize new guest, DTM Sridhar. He's joined us from Singapore. Thank you so much, sir, for joining. And I would also, taking benefit of the fact that you're here, I would also request that at the after the panel evaluation is over, if you could give your brief feedback about DTM Sarfaraz's speech, especially in the context of judges training, it would be lovely if possible for you. Thank you so much. We also have another guest, G.I. Lee. So pleasure to have you. If you can put your introduction in the chat box, that would be lovely as well. And then we'll get back to you at the end of the meeting. So today, DTM Sarfaraz is delivering a unique project. It is disruption, but not the usual fun kind. No. DTM Sarfaraz will deliver a 5 to 7 minute speech, and he will present a strategy. The member completing this project has spent time developing a project plan for event or set of goals. In the first part of the member's speech will be a presentation of his or her plan. The club members will then be invited to suggest disruptions to the plan. The member will need to address methods for managing the challenges presented by club members. There should be a minimum of 3 disruptions suggested and a maximum of 5. The member may respond each disruption separately. Evaluate the member on the first prepared speech about their plan as well as the second impromptu portion of the speech. As you evaluate, consider the member's poise in presentation as well as the variability and or creativity of responses to the challenges. So everyone, just to recap, there will be a 5 to 7 minute speech in which DTM Sarfaraz will present the plan. And then I will invite the audience members to present potential problems that the plan will face. And that will be between 3 to 5. It will be between 5 to 7 minutes again. And DTM Sarfaraz is supposed to respond how he will mitigate those disruptions. So with that, everybody, please put your hands together. And Mr. Timer, please first time for 5 to 7 minutes, right? And then time for 5 minutes, all right? So everyone, please put your hands together for DTM Sarfaraz Wazir. Spice it up. Spice it up, DTM Sarfaraz Wazir.
Distinguished Toastmaster Talha bin Hamid, fellow Toastmasters, and distinguished guests. The Indo-Pakistan subcontinent is inarguably well known for its spices. Spices add a flavor to a variety of dishes. Variety is the spice of life. Just like we spice up our dishes, there are several ways to spice up Toastmaster meetings and events. One method is a specialized evaluation contest as proposed by Toastmaster Latif Mansoor Ali. This is a monumental task, but it will be epic. His proposal was to hold an evaluation contest, not a regular evaluation contest, but a team evaluation contest with teams competing against each other. Each team was supposed to have 3 members, the lead evaluator, and then 2 other team members, one for recommendation and one for commendation. I am proposing a modification to his proposal based on the new format of KTC Academy. Instead of having 3 members, there'll be 4 members, a lead evaluator and 3 other team members, one for structure and language, the second one for audible, vocal variety, etc., and the third one for visibility, visual appeal. The lead evaluator will have 2 to 3 minutes, just like a regular evaluation, and then other team members will have 1 minute with 30 seconds grace. Team members will not be disqualified based on their individual time, but as a team. That means each team gets 5 to 7 minutes. And if the team goes over 7 minutes, 30 seconds, then the team will be disqualified. Now, that is the proposal or a modified proposal for evaluation. But to make the contest event really epic, I'm proposing that in addition to evaluation contest, we also include a table topics contest. Not just any table topics contest, but a storytelling table topics contest. And not individual Toastmasters competing, but teams competing. Each team will have 4 team members, the lead table topics speaker and 3 team members. Each team will get a different topic, unlike the regular table topics where you put everyone in a breakout room other than the first team or the first speaker, and then each person answers the same question. In this case, each storyteller team will receive their own topic. The lead speaker will respond to that topic for 2 to 3 minutes, and then the second member will take over and continue the story for 1 minute or 1.5 minutes. Then it goes to the next team member, and finally the last team member. And then after the last team member responds for 1 to 1.5 minutes, then it goes back to the lead speaker who gets 1 minute to 1.5 minutes to wrap up that story. And the teams will be judged based on how well they told the story, how well they connected the story as a team. That will be challenging because not only storytelling itself is challenging, but to tell the story as a team, that will be monumental, a task for them. So my proposal is to hold a table topics contest called the Storytelling Table Topics Contest and a specialized evaluation contest. In both cases, there'll be teams of 4 members each working as a team. Here, not only people are practicing their impromptu speaking skills in the table topics contest or their evaluation capabilities and abilities in the evaluation contest, but they're also learning how to work as a team. And that is something that doesn't happen every day. That's something different than a regular meeting. People will like to participate, to challenge themselves, to get out of the box thinking. So we will discuss, have a few meetings, decide on the date, present it to the club, when to hold it. Now, this is part of the Karachi Toastmasters Club. I have briefly discussed it with Toastmaster Latif, but yesterday I attended a meeting in District 25 Club. One of the person who was the district director last year and is working on his first DTM asked me for ideas for a project for DTM. And I gave him the same plan. So we will not only have it for Karachi Toastmasters, but I'm proposing here as teams from District 25 and District 50. Especially if we get enough teams, we'll have District 25 teams competing against District 50 teams to make it interesting. That's the proposal. And now I'll take some questions or comments from some of the audience members.
Thank you so much, DTM Sarfraz. Audience, any questions about this plan? Any potential problems that you see?
I have a question.
Yes.
Yes.
So first you, Toastmaster Ursa, and then Toastmaster Ahmed Shakukan. Over to you, Toastmaster Ursa.
Thank you so much, DTM Tala. I really like the plan, Toastmaster Sarfraz. The plan about storytelling in which you have a team of 4 people. Let's just say we've run some storytelling rounds like that in table topics where we start with one topic and then the story goes on and new people come and they say this, like continue the story and all. Usually it happens that the story tends to start from some place and then end at a totally diverted space. So is there some sort of training that you plan to do, or is there some sort of like 4 people giving us, or is there a time slot that you allot to these 4 people beforehand to keep them in one state of mind? Could you elaborate on that?
Yeah, the total time I'm proposing is 5 to 7 minutes. So the first speaker, the lead speaker, gets regular 1 to 2 minutes, which means maximum 2.5 minutes. And then once the red light comes on, they're supposed to wrap it up and then pass it on to the second speaker, who takes it on for 1 minute. And they'll get not the green, but the red light at 1 minute. And then they have 30 seconds to wrap it up and then take it too. Now, many years ago, when I was in college in Karachi, I participated in a similar storytelling event. It was not a contest at Radio Pakistan studio. There were several college students. The group was divided into 3 teams. The producer of the show read a portion of an actual story from the newspaper. I think it was Dawn newspaper, but just to the first team. And the other 2 teams were outside the studio at the moment. Then first team was supposed to relay that story to the second team. Then the second team relayed that to the third. By the time the third team gave that story, the story had completely changed from what the original story was. So in this case, we don't want that to happen. You asked about training. I think people might not know we may have a session a few days before the actual contest to give an example of both the table topics, storytelling, and also a group or a team evaluation. So people have some idea. So in this case, when it comes to the team storytelling, we don't want them to start exaggerating and getting off the subject changing. We want them to continue the story in a logical manner. And the judges will judge the story as a whole then. So if the people take it into a different tangent or something, that's fine. But if a story is completely off the rails, then that will mean it will hurt their scores. When the judges view that, hey, this was not the true storytelling. So the challenge here is to keep the story alive without going too far away. So does that answer your question, Toastmaster?
Yes, it does. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So we are already at the end of the Q&A session. So anyone who has any other potential issue? Toastmaster Ahmed. Yeah. Please go ahead.
Yes, I have 2 questions. First of all, don't the table topic session, the table topic contest, it should provide equal opportunity to all teams. And the equal opportunity is the same topic. for each team. If it is different topic, then it is not an equal opportunity, and judges might be, and even the teams might be concerned that they are given a difficult topic and another team has been given a easier topic and more relevant topic, and they've been favored. So this is something that we should consider. And what do you think about it? One thing. Secondly, how much time do we give a team to prepare for the topic so that their stories are aligned? These are my two questions.
Okay. The first one is the same. It's very similar to international speech contest. Each speaker gives a different speech. Each speaker may have a different story. Same thing happens in humorous speech contest. Each person comes up with their own topic. So in this case, the chief judge and the contest chair will ensure that the topics are very similar. The purpose is not to challenge the team's purpose is to ask a question or a topic that they can easily answer and use their imagination how they answer to their story. So instead of keeping the team separate and then giving them the same topic, everyone to make the judging easy, we want them to be creative. So each one will give a very similar. So it's not like something, we are asking something, hey, how do you solve the problem of United Nations, for example, some of the issues that they have, and then other person says, oh, what was your best vacation? No, the topics will be very similar, more of a nature of storytelling where it leads to a story rather than just a debate or a literary answer to it. So that'll be the task of the chief judge and the contest master to ensure that the topics are very similar in nature, meaning that the one team is not favored based on the topic that they were given. And so obviously, this will be the first time. Once we hold this contest, we learn from it some of the things that worked. We'll improve upon those, and things that we find out that they did not work as well as we wanted to, then we'll modify them for the second time. And your second one was how much time to prepare?
Yes.
Yeah. Just like the table topics, you have a few seconds. So within 30 seconds, we would like the person to lead speaker to start. Because the topics are such that it should be something that they can, we're not going to ask them textbook questions where they have to think, what did I learn about this or what did I read about? It will be something that they can easily respond to. So just like a regular table topics, the topic will be given to them, topic will be repeated, and then we'll wait for their response. So they'll have a few seconds to think for a moment and then start responding. So very similar to the table topics contest that we have now. The only difference is that this is a storytelling and it's a team effort rather than an individual effort.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you very much.
Thank you so much. We are out of time for the Q&A. But it sounds extremely interesting, and I was secondly surprised that, even in prepared speeches, the topics are different. What we can do in order to further mitigate is we can develop certain guidelines about assigning topics. So that will make sure that the topic is equally easy or difficult for all the weeks. And secondly, one more thing that I would propose is that first, let's make it a banner event for maybe our club and our district. And then in the second phase, after ironing out the kinks, we can spread it internationally. So yeah, let's extract the maximum mileage out of it. And one thing to make it exclusive to not necessarily to our club, but the club will host it and it will invite participants, just like right now. It can have participants from all over. But then maybe once that is done successfully, then we can spread it to the districts, other districts as well. And I imagine there will be a tremendous degree of interest because it's something extremely unfamiliar and new. So thank you so much for that. So with that, we now move on to the evaluation session, and I will be the lead evaluator. So Mr. Timer, would you put 2 to 3 minutes on the clock. So, right, 2 to 3 minutes evaluation, right? So, all right. So the details are crossed. I will not address you. Instead, I'll address the audience with one simple question. When do you care the most about your internet connection? Anyone? When do you think about your internet connection?
When DTM Sarfaraz is speaking, we don't want to miss
No,
anything.
other than that. Other than assume he's not speaking, other than that.
I guess when we're speaking ourselves, I suppose.
Sorry?
When we're speaking ourselves as well, so that what we're saying isn't lost.
Makes you think? What makes you think about your internet connection? Do you think about your internet connection when it's not working? When it's working perfectly, you cease to think about it. And medium surface, in a very similar manner, I was thinking about improvement areas and feedback to your speech. And honestly, I struggled because your speech was competent in every respect. That is not to say it was insipid, it did not have an impact. It just means that it was easy to get absorbed in the speech and its ideas rather than to look at it from an objective point of view. You had a superb connection to the audience from the start. You excel at eye contact, and you are one of the personifications of my long-held belief that if the speaker is good enough and the audience is attentive enough, it doesn't make an iota of difference whether you are in person or online. And today also, I believe most of the audience will feel that way. Really doesn't matter. The mode of the meeting does not matter. What matters is the connection. So, your speech was also well organized. I like the way it was neatly partitioned into the ideas about the evaluation contest, and then it morphs very elegantly into your ideas about a table topics contest, which ended up giving us a whole new line of thought. So thank you so much for that. Just a few improvement areas. The first one was that you ended a little bit before time, and your ending, ended abruptly. Basically, you could have made a smoother and sagged a little bit, which made it a tough sell. You should have sounded energetic and excited. As far as your question and answers is concerned, it was superbly done. There is absolutely nothing to comment. The questions were, first of all, compliments to the question also, that they were actually made after thoroughly listening to and evaluating your ideas, which is absolutely fantastic. And more important for us as judges and evaluators and contestants, but also the answers that with one flaw, that sometimes you can surprise, your answers tend to last a long time. So you should make a little more consideration for the time. But other than that, the answers were very well handled. The problems were, it seemed as if you had thought of these areas as part of your preparation, and that's how you were able to answer so smoothly. So that brings an end to my evaluation, and we move on to the visual aspects. So all 4 modular evaluators will spend 1 minute each on their evaluations. All right. So the visual aspects, Toastmaster, Toastmaster Azhar Khan, your support.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Your comments on the visual aspects of the speech, 1 minute.
Please note my time. TTM Nazir, you are looking very good. Especially, I'm very jealous your port, because I never tried this port in my entire life. So I don't know why. And otherwise, your lighting, your background, your color scheme, all good, perfect. And this is much little bit my opinion. If it's possible, you can lower the camera because you hide after if you move the camera, it means you show the more because your upside is looking empty. I think I don't need showing you. Otherwise, your background, your color, yeah, everything is fine, perfectly. Back to you, Toastmaster.
Thank you so much. Next, we will Toastmaster Latif President.
Thank you, distinguished Toastmaster Talab and Hamid. For me, I just have to look at how it felt sounding me your speech. If I say on behalf of the audience, it was very informative. It was a idea which has to be a flagship of academic Karachi Toastmasters Club. So it's a good addition to what, sincerely, for me, it looks like, it's like 1 + 1. You order for one and you are getting another one. I felt when there was a question asked to you, how you would feel to give topics to the others, a different topic. My only suggestion which came to my mind, and I thought you would have been also going to that same line, you would have given that bowl, there is you pick your own topic, you pick your own story. So if the story is for Sarfraz, then it is for DTM Sarfraz. Otherwise, it is for Toastmaster Mariam or anyone who is next. So I felt the only thing which was missing was while giving the answers, the speech, when you were sharing your idea, was a lot of connecting. But when it came to you delivering your answers, the energy was little low. You sound like, okay, maybe this is not, you give it an international section, as an international speech, but it is your plan, your project. Over to you, Toastmaster DTM Talab.
Thank you so much, Toastmaster Latif Mansoori. And it's a great mystery to me. How are you not a DTM yet? You must have fulfilled all the requirements several times over, haven't you? Why are you not a DTM yet? You've completed so many pathways.
I feel good with Toastmasters. Toastmaster Latif.
But that's no reason not to get your DTM. You can ask people to call you Toastmaster. No worries. All right, moving on to perceptive aspects. One more person that I still wonder, why is she not a DTM yet? Toastmaster Hinan. You're muted, Toastmaster.
I thought I'd unmuted. Thank you very much, DTM Talha. That's probably one of the reasons I am not a DTM yet. I haven't even got that yet. But no, I would tend to agree with Toastmaster Latif. Okay, DTM Sarfraz. I believe as a member of the audience who is, and a person who finds it very hard to go with change. I resist change. So when I started to listen to your speech, I was apprehensive. But as you spoke and you talked about this team evaluation, contest, and then the storytelling contest, you have the ability. I don't know how you do it, but you have the ability to change people's minds. And that is a hallmark of somebody who can make an impact. You did it. Even in terms of the question and answers, I would agree with both DTM Talha and DTM Latif, but still, yes, the energy might have been low, but I believe you addressed, even as I heard the questions and those apprehensions started to rise again, you allayed them, you addressed them. And as DTM Talha said, it sounded like you had thought of, like a chess player, all the moves that were coming up and you knew how to counter them. That is awesome. Something that we all really need to learn to do. So in my opinion, your speech changes perceptions and you have amazing impact. I hope I can learn from you. Thank you, sir. Did we lose?
Yes.
We lost DTM Talha for a few minutes, for a second.
May I invite Toastmaster Ahmed, please, if you can.
Thank you so much. DTM Sarfaraz, yes, listening to you was a pleasure throughout. And as far as structure and language is concerned, I was making a lot of effort to find anything that could be improved in your speech. Overall, it was a great speech, and the language that you have used had no flaws at all. It was well structured, although I would suggest a better ending with a proper conclusion could have been made it a little better. So I would say that it was excellent speech, and I did not find anything else that I could mention to improve it. So kudos to you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Toastmaster Ahmed. And it is stunning how you nailed this particular aspect of evaluation in your first time. Absolutely fantastic. So as I requested earlier, DTM Sridhar, if it is possible for you, if you could provide a bit of brief feedback on the speech and the ideas presented, it would be lovely. Hello, sir.
Hello, hi.
Sir, we can't hear you.
You can't hear me. Okay, maybe I'll turn off my speaker. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, that's better. Hi everyone. It's been a while. Yes, Talha, thank you for giving me opportunity to evaluate. Okay, I wasn't sure whether I was supposed to evaluate the speech or evaluate the evaluators. So maybe I'll just try to do both in within the minute or so. Okay. Start with, I think it was a wonderful speech. The idea is novel. I did like the idea a lot. But as the saying goes, the devil's in the details, and some of these details were not mentioned in the speech. Some were brought up by the evaluators, and I do agree with the evaluators as well, no doubt about that. If I can, but no point me repeating what they said, I think, guys, there's no value add. What I'd like to add is a couple of things. Firstly, like camera too high part, I just like to emphasize a bit more that like, I'm not sure DTM Sarfaraz where you did any hand gestures, but I can't see your hands at all because the camera is too high. So that is perhaps something which we can all take back, because I'm also guilty of such a thing. I'm sure all of us are, so not an issue. The other thing is, because as a Toastmaster board, as a contestant and as evaluator, I would have thought that an evaluation guide is extremely important, both not only for the contestants to know what to do, as mentioned about different topics and time and all that, but the evaluators need to know how to evaluate, because this is such a new concept. We need a brand new evaluation guide. And I don't think I heard any of the others mentioning that. And without evaluation guide, one thing, the speakers may not know what to do properly and get the points they can get, and evaluators may not know how to evaluate properly either. So although a point correctly made was we can fine-tune with time, we should try to get our first iteration up as well as possible. But aside from that, it was a wonderful idea. I do like it. It was a wonderful presentation all around and evaluations. So thanks you again to DTM Safraz, and for the opportunity to evaluate. Thank you again, DTM Talha. Thank you much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. That was absolutely fantastic, DTM Sridhar. As for the evaluation guide, that's a really valid point. We actually had discussed it since Toastmaster Latif came up with the idea. What we came up with was that the evaluation guide will be based primarily on the evaluation ballot, right? But it will also have some additional aspects to introduce the team aspects. But it will primarily be based on that. But thank you for bringing that up, which reminds me that we also need to, finalize it before we hold the event. So thank you for that. And finally, DTM Sarfraz, your feedback on the feedback.
Thank you, DTM Talha. And I appreciate all the comments given by various Toastmasters. It is 3:17 in the morning. It's difficult to be, say, hey. And unfortunately, this speech does not lend, it's not like an international speech contest, a dream. Yeah, yes, you can live your dreams. So this was a proposal presenting like you're sitting in a conference room and having a discussion with 4 or 5 team members. Say, hey, here's my proposal. And then somebody objects and you say, okay, no, yes, this will work, this will not work. So that's the style. And under the old system, I wouldn't be giving on this topic. I would have preferred to just mention in regular speech that here's a proposal and let's hold a contest. But since I had to give this level 4 speech in order to complete level 4 in the pathway, so I decided to go ahead and do it, and then also leading a difficult situation. Personally, I've never found myself in talking to people where we run into the difficult situation. Now, you do expect people to have, okay, this might work, this doesn't work, and then you just discuss and say, okay, let's make some changes to the plan. But so many Toastmasters wanted us to, learn a little bit more about leadership, where people are really against certain idea, and hey, how will you handle that situation? So once again, thank you for the feedback. But what I look forward is to working with Toastmaster Latif and a few other team members from Karachi Toastmasters to put together this contest. So it will be a KTC first.
Thank you so much, DTM Sarfraz, and thank you for pointing out a contradiction versus my earlier judges briefing, where I specifically said that the expectations of local variety and movement and justice should be in line with the content of the speech. So see how easy it is to fall in that trap when you are actually evaluating. That was a live demonstration that, in an effort to give evaluation points and in an effort to give feedback, we fall into the familiar tropes that usually all Toastmasters fall into. That, every speech is supposed to be a complete bara masale ki chaat without realizing that the content calls for difference. So that was a live example, everyone. Thank you so much for that, DTM Sarfraz. Yes, I agree that your speech did not warrant a great degree of vocal variety and a lot of gestures. And what was there served the speech well. So thank you so much for that. And that finally brings our meeting to an end. And incredibly, we are just like 5 minutes behind schedule, despite having a packed agenda and everything. So that's amazing. So I cannot really believe that. But so first of all, let me thank all the participants today. I believe it was amazing learning session for all of us. And finally, I will end by inviting everyone to share their feedback about the session. So let's start with, let's say, the person who has been quiet all along, Toastmaster Asma. Your feedback.
Thank you, DTM Talha. It's my first meeting of Karachi Toastmasters staff, and I really enjoyed it. One of the most amazing element was about the sessions, the humorous speech contest and for the table topic contest, because I've learned a lot since I'll be participating in the contest tomorrow. So meanwhile, listening to this session, I already developed an idea, although I have prepared my speech, but how to improve it. So a very amazing session and very learning session. And for the DTM Safraz speech, I'm listening to him second time. First, I listened to him in the joint meeting. So I must say I will never try to miss his speeches because these are so learning and amazing speeches. And the idea of today's session was amazing. I really enjoyed today's session. Thank you.
So you know the easiest way to do that is to join Karachi Toastmasters.
Yeah, I was fearing that.
No.
But inshallah, someday.
No, but you don't have to join. Instead, just keep an eye on our meeting times and you can drop in any meeting. So you're more than welcome.
Yeah.
And let me mention this to everyone that our Academy session, these sessions, the advanced format sessions are open to the entire district and beyond. We don't care whether you're a member or not. You can deliver a speech here or an evaluation there. This is the spirit of our club, and this is also the spirit of these sessions. So even if you want to deliver a speech, any of you, and you're not a member of Karachi Toastmasters Club, you're more than welcome to do it if you want to receive advanced evaluations or to contribute towards advanced evaluations. So you're more than willing to do it. But the best way to not miss any of the team's speech is, I will reiterate, to become a member of Karachi Toastmasters. But no worries.
Yeah. Surely one day, but not now.
Sure, no worries. Toastmaster Irfan Farooq, your feedback, sir.
Thank you very much. It was a very lovely learning session. Particularly, I learned a lot about judgment criteria. We had read those criteria many times, but going through in the details was really good for me. I always enjoy your club. Physically, I have participated in your club meetings. Virtually, I have participated many times, and I love to participate, particularly these academy sessions. Moreover, I should appreciate TM Sarfraz Nazir, because he is, I must say, he's a very committed person for the cause of the club. In America at this time, probably Canada or America, but at 3 a.m. in the morning, he's awake, he's on the screen, he doesn't look like sleepy. I always love to listen to him. Whenever he's in any meeting, I try to listen to him. Honestly speaking, I want the confidence that I see on his face for myself. I want to be like him someday. Thank you very much.
It was Master Irfan Farooqi. I've seen you speak. You match DTM Sarfraz's confidence. In terms of skill, you just need to have more time, and that's pretty much it. So, and I'm saying that from the bottom of my heart. You match his creativity, you match his confidence. Like in terms of skill, we just need to spend more time to get there. Even though we perhaps did not get exactly where DTM Sarfraz was, but even the journey is worth it. So thank you so much. And the simple explanation that I give everyone is about DTM Sarfraz's presence is that he's not a human being. He can stay awake at any hour of the day or night, and he can deliver speeches with his full capacity. So I don't know. And his connection is always perfect, by the way. That adds to my suspicion that he's from an alternate dimension or from another planet, or maybe he's an alien. So, all right. Yeah. So, Mr. Timer, no need. Your role is over. Thank you so much. Don't worry. Thank you so much for your contribution. You have been instrumental in keeping this meeting on time, and you've done your role superbly. Thank you so much. We'd like some feedback from Toastmaster Usama. Toastmaster Usama.
Am I audible? Am I audible?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you so much, DTM Talha. I really enjoyed the meeting today, especially because there was a judges training, and let's not give away a lot more. Other than that, obviously, Toastmaster Sarfraz's speech, it's always a pleasure to listen to DTM Sarfraz. He gives, I believe, one of the best speeches at KTC. And academy sessions, obviously, they're a new format, a new, let's just say, a more advanced format, more learning. So it's always a pleasure to be in one of these meetings. Over to you, DTM.
Thank you so much, Toastmaster Ruta. So with this, yes.
No, I'm done.
So with this, we are about to bring this meeting to an end. All right. Thank you so much, DTM Sridhar. Anyone who wishes to give feedback?
Just we will meet soon. That's it.
Sir, in the comments box, DTM Talha. Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody. Have a lovely afternoon and a very good night to DTM Sarfraz. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, everyone.
Yes, of course. No longer there, it's early morning now for him. But thank you so much for everyone. And once again, see you all in 2 weeks' time, but hopefully before that, tomorrow at CA Toastmasters Club's contest. And and even after that, in the next Wednesday meeting of Karachi Toastmasters Club or some other meeting. So thank you so much, everyone. And bye and good night, good morning, good afternoon.
Bye-bye. Love it.
Allah Hafiz.